just extraordinary, isn't it, that we learn now that the BBC journalist Martin Bashir lied, created false documents, all sorts of trickery to get the interview.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's deeply shocking what has been discovered in this report. This is an investigation, an internal investigation by the BBC into the circumstances that surrounded that interview. Martin Bashir, who was, a relatively unknown journalist at the time, managed to secure the interview. Everyone was surprised at the time that he was the person that managed to secure it. And we now understand that he used pretty awful, deceitful behaviour to induce the princess to talk to him. He faked bank statements that persuaded Diana that officials were being paid for media, and the media also was being paid for information about her. I mean, it made her feel very paranoid. It made her really question everyone around her and pretty much sent her into the arms of Martin Bashir to do this interview.
Yeah, it's absolutely clear now. And there was a lot of doubt at the time, as you say. So the BBC stands condemned for not discovering this a long time ago, leaving it covered up until now. There's no doubt that her brother, Princess Di's brother, was tricked into introducing Martin Bashir, and then they helped fool Princess Di into doing the interview. No doubt you'll go into this in some detail in your Royal Record podcasts. But
absolutely, we will. I mean, there's lots of questions to answer here.
But in the end, Princess Diana said what she wanted to say. And we heard even there, she already had her problems with bulimia and the lack of self-worth. It wasn't the interview or the tactics that did that to her. She was really going through all sorts of trauma and wanted to share it with the world.
Well, yes, perhaps, but I think her state of mind was definitely caused by Martin Bashir's deceitfulness. He said some incredible things. When you read Earl Spencer's notes that he wrote during the interview that he had with Martin Bashir himself, and he wrote these notes, and they were extraordinary. They suggested things like the Queen was ill, and they talked about money being paid by Prince Charles to find out information about Diana. I mean, these were terrible things. They suggested that Prince Charles was having an affair with the boy's nanny. None of these things were true. All these things made Princess Diana feel very paranoid, very vulnerable, and ultimately, that interview drove the wedge between her and the royal family that meant that she left the royal family. Her and Prince Charles divorced after this interview. And then, she was in a situation where she had no security, and her sons have drawn that conclusion.
They have mentioned those. We'll go to her eldest son, Prince William, in just a moment. But the point is that a journalist that she hardly knew, and she's believing him. It's just such a weird situation. But let's have a look at what Prince William said in London overnight, our time.
It is my firm view that this Panorama programme holds no legitimacy and should never be aired again. It effectively established a false narrative which for over a quarter of a century has been commercialised by the BBC and others. This settled narrative now needs to be addressed by the BBC and anyone else who has written or intends to write about these events. In the era of fake news, public service broadcasting and a free press have never been more important.
You couldn't disagree with anything he said, Juliet, but I want to come back to this point again. I just think, and no one should ever defend Martin Bashir, it's just absolutely disgusting behaviour. But what I'm sensing is a lot of people saying because of this we should all discount everything that Princess Di said in that interview and therefore give everybody else a sort of a clean slate. No, she said what she wanted to say, and of course people like Prince Charles had things to answer for at that time.
Yes, she said what she had to say, but obviously some of her beliefs at the time were fueled by these lies that Martin Bashir placed in her mind. So I don't think she actually would have done the interview if she wasn't feeling so alone and, so got at. She felt that everywhere she turned, people were informing on her or making plans behind her back. It would have been a terrible situation to be in, and something that afterwards many people have painted a different portrait of Princess Diana. You know, I myself have thought her
Juliet,
to be unduly paranoid, but it's not been the case.
Sorry to cut you off, but we are out of time, Juliet. Fascinating stuff, and people can hear more from you in the Royal Record podcast. Thanks so much for joining us.